Big dog, I've constructed a tier list with some of the most popular and future supported decks to give you the insight on which strategies you should pick up like a bad habit or drop like a baby. I was dropped as a baby and I turned out all right. Right? Y'all can't keep doing this to me. I'm just gonna go ahead and cue the video and said you agreed with me. Okay, big dog, so you're probably wondering, how did I determine the potential of these Yu-Gi-Oh strategies? It's simple. There were a couple of things that came into factor. One was the ban list. Will these strategies get stronger or could they potentially get weaker from the list? The next, we will talk about the future support that these strategies may or may not be receiving and how it will impact them. But more importantly, it still revolves around the overall strength of these strategies. Sometimes strategies can get support and not do enough. Some strategies could have already received support and can be really strong coming into the next format, barring what happens. So that's why I have 5 different categories here. These categories are going to be giving you a close indication on what I think these strategies can do in the future. So let's go ahead and start off with a strategy that is getting support from Legacy of Destruction, Ancient Gears. My guy, the deck is practically Earth Machine. They're all Earth Machines. The cool thing about this video is that you're also going to be getting a little bit of market watch, so even if I've already talked about your strategy, you might just want to peep some others just in case. Ancient Gears have actually already been going up because this deck does have a ton of potential. Tons of one-card combos, OTKs, and a lot of plays. I'm not saying that this deck is going to be a world beater, but I think its floor is where Raid Raptor was in Phantom Nightmare. A deck that can actually win at the regional event and is a fan favorite of the set. It's really, really good too. And while Ancient Gears does draw that comparison of Raid Raptors to be crazy throughout the Ancient Gears set, Ashen draws the comparison of Warrock. I mean, it can be the best deck, because Warrocks are the best deck. This one's actually a little bit easier when you follow Konami. I'm going to put it in, you okay? It actually should be you okay, not yo okay. So there's a couple of problems with Ashen right now. The first is that it is very incredibly easy to stop. And the second is that it is reliant on Konami to be able to make a balanced but good archetype. Where they do that at? I would say personally that there is a 0% chance that Ashen becomes a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh deck, but if you genuinely like the art and like the deck, then go ahead and keep it. Just understand that it's pretty much, yeah. Big dogs, the only thing I have to say about Branded is that it very much could be hit by the ban list. Branded Fusion has escaped the ban list for so long, but we know that it's always in Konami's sights. They tend to hit things when they don't matter. I think no matter what, at the end of the day, Branded will be a very good pet Yu-Gi-Oh deck at the very worst. You still have cards like Blazing Cartesia to Fusion Summon, and Guiding Quim will get a reprint this year. If you're building a Branded deck, you should feel pretty good right now, as long as you didn't go real crazy on it. Centurion reminds me of so many cool strategies from these deck build sets. I want you guys to think Rescue Ace, Pearly, Vanquish Soul. All of those decks did have their spotlight and were from those deck builds. All they needed was that extra oomph of support to make them good. Just going off of Konami's track record, giving these deck build sets more support, at least one of them tends to be pretty good, and Centurion does have a lot of things going for it. The new support is actually good. From what I've heard from the Centurion community, the deck can play around Dimension Shifter. It also does not need True King of all Calamities to beat the deck. It seems like it's real good. Fire Kings are also a strategy that is getting support. Crazy. I think that even when the ban list comes around, and if it does hit Fire Kings, this is also another deck with potential. It's solid. The new card, Fire King Consort Ulconix, does not have a TCG confirmed release date, but it could be inside of the extra cards that we will get inside of Legacy of Destruction. I personally think by the time that we get those cards, Fire King and Snake Eyes won't be married anymore, and it would be a lovely addition to the deck, bringing it back to its roots and allowing it to still be competitive. It has a ton of potential. Flew under East. Oh my God. Okay, so the me in me wants to tell you guys, are you okay? Bro, look, I'm probably gonna do this for the rest of the video. Are you okay? Who in their mind would play Flew under East? In actuality, I'm going to keep Floowandereeze here, and here's the reason why. The deck is so ridiculously cheap and is incredibly old. If hypothetically you can get rid of your Floowandereeze for full price right now, do it. And the main reason is because if the deck does get hit down the line, then you don't lose anything. If it doesn't hit, then it won't go up. You can still pick up the cards relatively cheap. I think economically, that just makes the most sense for Floowandereeze. And if you guys have seen my video I put up last week in the buy these cards before they skyrocketed in price, I talked about Orcus. Cards like Orcus Galtae and Orcus Dingirsu do have multiple prints. But specifically speaking, if you can pick up your ultimate rare copies of Galtae and Dingirsu, I think that's a really good idea right now. Because Harp Horror did come off the ban list, it has the potential to come further off of the ban list. That means that at the very worst, this deck is a pet deck. I don't think it'll be an over-dominant deck like it was before, but having Orcus and getting your Orcus cards now before it becomes fully off the list is a good idea, not only for this particular format, but also if you guys ever wanted to play Time Wizard formats like 2019 format where this deck is the best. Goblin Bikers will get support inside of the new Legacy of Destruction set. It gets a trap card that allows you to be able to Exceed Summon again, but also you get to use your opponent's graveyard cards for material? Ugh. Have you ever been really hungry, got a TV dinner out the microwave, took your fork and was ready to eat it, and it was like slushy? Like it wasn't done yet, like the macaroni and cheese had the ice chips in it? That's how nasty this deck does have the opportunity to be. I'm gonna go ahead and say that Goblin Biker is one of the best investments that you can have. Not only can cards like Speedroid Terratop come off the list to make this deck a lot more potent, it also is getting support and is part of the Diabellstar lore. You literally cannot lose with this deck. It is incredibly cheap for almost no reason. Goldbride also does get support in Legacy of Destruction. I don't think that it is a good idea to start picking up Goldbride because of that. I'm gonna put it in shakiness. And it's mainly because the Goldbride cards just simply aren't good enough in Yu-Gi-Oh right now. There are so many ways to stop them, and on top of that, the strategy doesn't really do much with the new cards, other than sometimes you can make the new Synchro Monster, and sometimes you do the exact same thing. I was really disappointed because I was expecting a couple of more waves of Horus, but overall, I think Horus still has potential. Untapped potential. The Horus strategy is built on summoning level 8 monsters from your graveyard to your field, then making them unaffected, almost untargetable, and giving you effects if your opponent gets rid of them. There is some genuine potential in these cards, but overall though, I think that because we are in such a crazy format, they haven't had enough time to shine, and that's where I'm putting them in potential. Kashtira just got Kashtira Unicorn off the ban list, and actually has the probability of getting Kashtira Finra on the ban list. It's crazy how that works, G. What they say, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. I put Kashtira in a shaky spot right now because it is doing incredibly well, and if Konami does decide to do a reset Forbidden listing, you're cooked. But more importantly, Kashtira is almost guaranteed to be reprinted again in the Rarity Collection set, if not in some other side sets that will get people to buy cards like Kashtira Finra. Mommy Milkers! Chat, I think I got the shirt on too. Hold on. Am I mommy milking today? I'm mommy milking today! In case you guys didn't know, Labyrinth is one of my all-time favorite Yu-Gi-Oh decks, but we have to admit the course is pretty much ran for this strategy. Right now, it's not in a great spot, and I don't think that it gets much better with the ban list. It has all of the potential to be hit, and none of the potential to actually get stronger. My guys, unless you're a Mommy Milkers fan truly, I don't think that it's the best idea if you're hinging your bets on this particular strategy. Maybe put it to the side and find some other strategies that can relate to you. The crazy thing about Lightsworn is that if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh boomer, you realize that Lightsworn starts for L for a reason. Bro, you call it L-Sword because it was so sacky and it could never consistently win a major event. Now, because of the new cards in Legacy of Destruction, yes, the deck's ridiculously consistent. Felice is crazy. Wolf is crazy. Judgment Dragon is crazy. Did I also forget to tell you that Judgment Dragon is one of the best monsters to have ever been created in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh? This is definitely one of the best investments. It's almost like Orcus, a strategy that even if it doesn't pan out, you can play it in older formats. But the difference between Orcus and Lightsworn is that you can play Lightsworn in multiple different formats. Also, guys, Konami has one job: not to mess this up. This deck can be legitimately scary good coming into the next format. I believe that it will be one of the better investments if you guys get high-end Lightsworns, because those cards never go down. Memento gets a new fusion card, new direction, and everything it needs to be able to succeed. And I'm going to ask you, if you're playing a Memento, are you okay? I genuinely do not see how this deck could be good. I understand that most strategies from the deck build step become a lot better. It just doesn't look better. Your best inboard from Memento? A Nibiru token. At least that's what it seems for me. Naturia, on the other hand, hey man, look. If Naturia Sacred Tree does come off the list, this deck actually is kind of crazy. And if Konami ever does have the brain to bring Naturia Sacred Tree off, this deck is really, really good. But I'm going to say that those odds are pretty shaky. Raid Raptors, my boys. As you guys know, I play Raid Raptors. I have played this deck extensively. I can tell you, it's shaky, my boy. Raid Raptors is not getting any more support, at least in the near future. The good thing about this deck is that the support currently right now is fairly strong. The bad thing is that because of in the current climate we're in, the current format, it's just really difficult to play at this second. Rescue Ace does have the potential to bring Rescue Ace Airlifter off the ban list, but the card just got on. When does Konami do that? You got to go through at least these struggle buses that all of the other archetypes go through, have your card unfairly hit for way too long while Konami forgets about it, and then gives you a boost. I think that Rescue Ace is in an incredibly shaky situation. This is one of the worst fire Yu-Gi-Oh decks right now, and it's all because Airlifter got poofed out of existence. Guys, we don't know when we get new cards like Code of Fire out just yet. They could be imported in Legacy of Destruction, but I'm not gonna lie to you, Solomon Great is at the very worst a great pet Yu-Gi-Oh deck. As long as Konami doesn't decide to ban Promethean Princess, which I think the odds of that are happening are low, this deck is really good, can dodge Nibiru to Primal Being, and has so many crazy good combos. It topped regionals in YCS's this format for sakes. I think a good Yu-Gi-Oh player is tossing salad instead of having their salad tossed. No DD, no pause on that whole situation, and can be a really fun deck to play. Now moving on to the deck that you slept on. The Master of Faster, the King of Disaster, Red Dragon Archfiend. Red Dragon Archfiend is actually way better than what people are giving it credit. Way better than I originally have given it credit. And it does have the potential of getting more support, which is kind of good. I'm going to put it in the pet range decks though. A skilled Red Dragon Archfiend player such as yourself could really do some damage. But keep in mind, it does have a ceiling as a pet Yu-Gi-Oh deck and should be thought of as such. A lot of people are wondering, will Snake Eyes be hit to oblivion? On one side, we have to look at other tier 0 strategies. Tearlament, Dragon Ruler, almost every single one of those strategies have survived their first go around with the ban list. Will the strategy be severely altered? I think there's a huge possibility. But the deck will still be a top contending Yu-Gi-Oh deck. I think it has map potential. Now, the reason why I put it in map potential instead of best investment is because the ban list can change those prices. You can feel real bad for investing in some of the Snake Eyes cards, and that's why I'm like, yo, it still has potential, but be mindful. And you're not playing it for just competitive uses only, and you need to make your money back, probably when I'm looking to make your money back. Tearlaments have so many cards on the ban list, it's ridiculous, and I think at best, it's just going to be your pet deck, my guy. Now, Lightsworns could potentially make Tearlaments a little bit more interesting, but that's genuinely going to be dependent on you, the player, to make it interesting. Valmonica. When was the last time Konami has given us an actually viable pendulum strategy? The reason why I have lowered hope in decks like Valmonica is because Konami just keeps on printing stuff to ruin pendulum decks. Snake Eyes Flamebeard is another one of those cards that secretly make it almost impossible to play Pendulum. And let's not forget, the new support for Valmonica is incredibly nice, I'll give you that. But the deck is still way too balanced to be able to compete. Now, if you guys are on the Voiceless Voice train, I think you'd be foolish. This is hands down the best investment you can make when it comes to competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Voiceless Voice has nothing but potential. I think the probability of the ban list hitting it too hard where it still can't compete just doesn't exist. And we know it is getting more support to only be stronger. Yubel. We know Yubel is getting some crazy good support, allowing you to be able to destroy Yubel from the deck. On the other hand, I am not happy about how Yubel started off really strong and then just disappeared. I think Yubel has the potential to be a pet range type Yu-Gi-Oh deck. I don't feel comfortable putting it in the potential category strictly because once players started to read Yubel, that's when the strategy started not to be good. Overall, though, the deck does get a little bit more resistant and malleable, so it'll be really interesting to see if it can break through from that pet range. But to be honest with you, these pet range decks are pretty powerful, so who knows? I know that there's some players saying that Thunder Dragon Colossus may come off the ban list. You're coping. And with that being said, even if it did, you're still coping. Thunder Dragon Colossus already had its problems as a deck. It was normally just kind of like a monster mash type Yu-Gi-Oh deck, and now would be just a worse version of that with cards like Chaos Space and the Bestials. I will say though, picking up Thunder Dragon Colossuses before they eventually do come off the ban list would be a wise move, because this is a strategy that was used for the 2019 Toss format. Magic Specters have the exact same problem as Valmonica. When are you gonna learn, old man? Even with Magic Specter Kirin, this deck is so held back by its own mechanic. And to make it worse, your Magic Specter Pendulum monsters don't even got effects. And lastly is going to be Draco Slayers. I think that it's almost 100% possibility that Dragonic Diagram comes off the ban list. Unfortunately, I don't think that even does close to enough. Hypothetically, even if Dragonic Diagram and Masterpiece come off the ban list, I think that this deck is way too old to be able to compete with some of the top decks in the game. I will say it does have some really cool things going on. A lot of Yu-Gi-Oh strategies don't care about the advantage that you're making if they're making a board you can't crack. And that's all that I have for the best meta decks for the future. Some decks that you should be looking into. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, big dog, you already know what to do with that subscribe button. And also be sure to check out these other videos so I can catch you on the next one.